So this week I've actually been quite busy with sorting out retirement visas. I decided that after several months of traveling, it was time to just settle for a while. At the very least, I want a base where I don't need to be concerned about the length of tourist visas that I'm on. I'm still free to travel wherever I want, but I know that I can slip back here with the greatest of ease without having to be concerned about visa extensions and the arranging of accommodation around that. There is currently some political instability in the Philippines concerning the recent arrest of President Duarte, alongside the breakdown of the political alliance between Duarte and President Marcos. Discontent is spreading amongst the masses, and therefore crime seems to be on the up at the moment over there as the natives are getting restless. So, following my discussions a couple of weeks ago with several visa agents for retirement visas, I decided to go ahead and acquire one. Now, in theory, you can swagger into an agent's office, place your passport down on the table, cough up around $1,300, and by the end of the day, it's pretty much all done. Aside from waiting for the return of your passport from the Bureau of Immigration. And in practice, I can say that it was more or less as it says on the tin. There were, however, a couple of hiccups. First of all, it's a requirement that you show a proof of receipt for the mobile phone number that you have connected to your network provider, which should show your name and passport details. So you need a receipt to show this, which is used by the bank when opening up an account for sorting out internet banking through the app, which you download onto your phone when you're there. They want to make sure that the number is connected to you and validated through your passport. So you have to go to your network provider's retail outlet, for example, in a shopping mall, and ask for one of these receipts, which they will gladly do for you for a small fee of around $50. I therefore had to make a little trip to Pattaya shopping mall and then return with that to the agent so they could use the receipt along with various other bits of information that they forward to the bank before I arrived. Now, unfortunately, my phone had a little issue when trying to download the banking app, and it took another half an hour on top of the half hour I'd spent opening the account. Once this had been sorted out, however, there was a further problem as the agent couldn't facilitate the 800,000 Thai baht as it was stuck in another customer's account because one of their office team hadn't checked the application of that particular person properly. And by the time the issue was sorted out, it took another hour on top of that. But once we got that done, it was a quick trip to Chonburi or Pattaya immigration. My agent escorted me into the immigration building straight to the front of the queue, then told me to turn around and took a photo of me with his own phone. And with that, we were done. I was literally in there less than 30 seconds from start to finish. And on the way out, I had to ask him, "Is this all good?" To which he replied, "As long as the photo has official Bureau of Immigration officers in the background, then yes." So I took his word for it with a grin on my face and then returned back to his office and went home. Now, when I was on my way to Pattaya City that morning to find his office, I followed Google Maps directions, which, unbeknown to me, was situated on a certain street where, mainly during the evening, hosts various activities of a certain kind, and in footage that I will show you in a minute. You can see me turn the corner on my scooter of this particular street where I was expecting to find a normal street with a bunch of bikes parked where I would locate the office and get on with business. However, I was a little bit shocked to see several hundred scantily clad young ladies of a lesser virtue lining both sides of the street with a gap just wide enough to fit a car through it, both looking inwards at any unsuspecting victims like myself on scooters who were then subjected to the indignity of being pinched and tugged at and grabbed in various places in an effort to entice you to partake in various activities of an intimate nature for an exchange of currency. Now, you have to bear in mind that I was trying to focus on the vehicles in front of me and the vehicles behind me as I'm trying to retain balance whilst at the same time moving my handlebars both left and right to try and capture the goodies, whilst at the same time wondering whether Google Maps was actually playing games with me on purpose. Now, as I made my way further down the street, I became surrounded by air hostesses and teachers and schoolgirls and various other outfits of different vocations. And whilst flitting in and out of various emotions ranging from erotic to intimidation, about halfway down the street, after a few minutes, you can actually hear my phone clearly tell me that I have arrived at my destination, which actually made me feel a little guilty. Anyway, I survived the ordeal, but decided to circle back and go down again as I'd forgotten about finding the office. It appears that my mind had been somewhat preoccupied on other things. Now, over the following days, I had numerous questions to ask my agent, all of which required completely justifiable separate visits. The footage is a little shaky, but then so were my hands.
In 1,000 feet, you will arrive at your destination.
Moving on, a couple of days later, I also decided to secure accommodation in the form of a 1-year contract for a condo in Jomtien. So for the next 15 months, I will have a base here as and when I need it, but this does not stop me from going to other places in between. I have to say that what you get for your money accommodation-wise in comparison to what you get in Thailand is significantly better in terms of both size, quality, and amenities. For example, in Cebu City, the Philippines, you have Horizon 101, you've got Avida Towers, and several other residences that are glorified rabbit hutches that don't have so much as a built-in hob. Now, I've previously mentioned that there is a checklist that I work through when considering settling in a place. First and foremost is the affordability, and if this comes within my budget, for example, accommodation, which is your main expense. And secondly, the setting, which is beach, city, mountain, island, etc. Followed by the amenities that are within that setting. So, for example, your condo residence, swimming pools, gyms, and so on. What are the quality of those? And then branch out into a final stage further to consider dating, transport, and anything else. Now, so far, Jomtien for me has ticked most of these boxes. It might not be for everyone, and we all have personal preferences, but it's down to being intelligent as to how you position yourself in your surroundings. And also dependent upon your budget, of course. Surround yourself with the right people and be prepared to walk alone if necessary. Stay away from what's not right for you and embrace what is. It's really all about perspective, as one man's palace can be another man's shithole. Most important thing really is being open-minded and never losing sight of the fact that if it wasn't for the disparity of economies, you wouldn't have the element of affordability. It's certainly something to be grateful for, especially if you're on the right side of it. Discussions with several of the guys that live here mainly agree that really, here it's the poor man's Saint-Tropez. Just find what works for you and then make it better. Now, whilst I do miss the friendliness of Filipino people from chatting with the staff where I had my condo, to fist-bumping security guards in supermarkets and listening to shop staff sing with all the passion of a contestant on X Factor, it's only now that I really appreciate the benefit of being in a country where English is almost their first language. It makes it so much more difficult here in Thailand, but you just got to find a way of working around it. So, for example, by using your phone translate. On my third day here, I was using the built-in microwave in grill mode to crisp a spring roll, which resulted in a power out and blown fuses. A couple of days later, two of the resident maintenance guys, doubling as electricians, turned up to deal with the issue, whereupon we had a very interesting conversation by speaking into our phones and playing it back to each other. But we did, however, get there in the end. Now, weather-wise, over the past month, there has been no more than 2 cloudy days which prevented me indulging in my daily fix of sunset. All the rest have been clear blue skies. It's actually got to the point where I've started praying for clouds again. And judging by the forecast over the next 10 days, I might just get my wish as storms are upon the horizon. And people tell me that when they hit hard. But so far, probably the most consistent good weather I've ever known anywhere. So aside from the recent earthquakes, of which I felt nothing, overall things seem to be fine. Again, it's really down to what you make of it and how you position yourself. I make sure that I have a healthy routine for the mind, body, and soul, and a lot of my time is taken up with focusing on various interests and keeping fit. Sitting around on a sun lounger all day and then cruising off to the local watering hole to sit and waste my time is just not my kind of thing. And I'm not on holiday here. I want a normal, proper, healthy routine. There is a nice beach directly in front of the main condo residences in Jomtien. And as you'll see in a little bit of footage that I've included for you now, it really doesn't get that busy at all at any time, to which makes it more appealing compared to the busier beach at Pattaya. There's plenty of space for you to pick a spot, settle down and relax. And overall, I have to say that I'm enjoying the relaxed vibe here in Jomtien. As much as I enjoyed the intense energy of Cebu City, which you could really feel, I seem to have found my spot for the time being, at least for now anyway. So just out of interest, I've patched together some other bits and pieces to give you a little flavour of the much less chaotic Jomtien. So just to give you an idea, that's the Riviera Jomtien in the background there. Okay, and this is the beach area in front of, directly in front of, Friday afternoon. Isn't that beautiful, by the way? Gorgeous. And as you can see, it's not exactly crowded, is it? And all the way, we can just zoom in a bit in the distance, we can see Jomtien going south a mile or two. There's just nothing. It's wherever you want to be, isn't it, really? That's what I really like about this beach. You can just settle down, find your own space, and enjoy. Absolutely beautiful. Jet skis around, which they are most days. Sometimes we get the odd paraglider or microlight. You can hire these sunbeds and canopies. Not sure how much they are, but so it really is. It's a nice little beach to just relax on. And in fact, over in the distance there, I think you can see the Copacabana. And the Riviera Ocean Drive. Yeah, beautiful. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this. And the skills of this guy. Must admit, I quite fancy going one of those, but you've really got to be used to it. I haven't been on one for at least 30 years. And but it does look fun. You see dozens of them sunset, riding the whole 3 or 4 mile stretch, right from the bottom all the way up to Pattaya. Quite often they race as well in the morning. Now, I haven't had my dinner yet, but there's a little place across the road that looks interesting. The Old Weedman Restaurant. Street vendors. Usual chicken, fish, etc. Some guys selling mangoes, 3 kilo for 100 baht. That looks interesting. Maybe I'll visit that later. There you go, you've got your 10 baht bus. Hop on that, ride it for as long as you want, get off, give the driver 10 baht, you're all done. Ride on that all day. And these things, 7-Elevens, they are every 50 feet, they really are. Okay, good, plenty of room, jump on the back of that, sometimes they stand there as well. Stay on these long enough, they'll circle around and take you all the way through to Pattaya, but in about 25 minutes. Anyway, for now, I'm on this thing. Off we go.